You say your last name Bruington. It's Craig Bruington.
Bruington, yeah.
Bruington. Is that like European? It sounds like something like it would
Something
fit.
special.
No, what it sounds like is what you would see from or hear from like Europe, like London or something. Like you're in the perfect career.
I've been told I need to rebrand and switch the brand to Bruington, or because you got Gucci, you got Dior, you got all of these last names, Tom Ford, as these brands, and that's kind of, they build it around who they are. Now I'm adopted, so that's my given last name, Bruington. I grew up not appreciating it, I guess, as much as I do now. I have this big tension kind of with it's just not really me who I was, and that's stuff that I'm still wrestling with. But at the same time, I am very proud to have that last name with my grandfather and my father now. But I don't know if I would put it as the face of my company. When my buddy Chris J. Evans, who's an amazing photographer, he kind of approached me. He's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about rebranding?" And I was like, "Well, this is the third time I've heard it." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, and I guess I'm open to it now." And he's like, "Why not like Bruington?" And I just, it wasn't landing well. It wasn't palpable for me. Now I'm coming around to it possibly.
I like it.
You like it? Is it strong?
I do. So, and I'm going to get into the title here in a second when I introduce you and everything, but this is a good conversation. So I get tied in with, or like hooked in with documentaries. Okay. And several years ago, there was a documentary about this guy, the last of his breed, whatever, that made these custom cutting shears out of Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like these high...
I've heard of this guy.
Yeah, high end shears. And I got like drawn into this thing. And everything that you see on like the documentaries in Europe and London is all like the, high society, all fancy and stuff like that. So when I was researching your stuff, I was like, okay, how do you say it? Do you say bespoke? I didn't know. And then I looked up and I went down this path to see like Seville Row or Seville Road and all this. But your last name sounds like that.
Like fits into that.
It does. It's almost like it's ready-made. I could really see you having a brand of your own suits that...
Bespoke by Bruington.
Oh, that's fantastic. If not, you could go into the job of creating taglines.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm good at that.
So I have a list of like questions.
Yeah.
Sorry, my glasses here. I'm not this organized. I can't see anymore. That's another thing that went when I got like 50. I had perfect vision, and all of a sudden I couldn't see. So this is Craig Bruington.
Bruington, yes.
Okay, and he does custom suits, bespoke suits, and how I met him, it's a really good story. And believe it or not, Craig, this podcast right here is because of our initial meeting that we have.
No way.
Absolutely. And I have always been involved with business and doing stuff and production work.
Wow.
And it's just part of what I do. And I've done this my whole life, between graphics, videos, you name it. But I am getting ready to retire, right. And I was looking for something else that I could just do in my spare time. And I needed a suit. And I needed a suit fast.
Yeah, you did.
And I needed a suit that was reasonable. And we had a death in the family. And I started going online, and I had seen you before. But when I saw the custom suits, the bespoke suits, to me, it was like, oh, that's outside my price range. There's no way this is going to happen. I'm not like a salesperson for you. I'm not, I know just a tiny bit about you off of the meeting, and I will say that you came through in a time that was devastating for our family.
Yeah.
And honestly, I got treated like a rock star. And that said a lot. And when I talked to you about your story, I started thinking, wow, there are so many cool stories out there and cool people that, might not be on the news.
Right.
And I would like to talk to those people because it's like intriguing. And like what kind of shocked me about you is how do you get started in creating a suit? Because I've been to weddings before and they're very stressful. And if I messed up somebody's wedding photography,
that's the worst. How do you live with yourself?
And you're like, I'm so confident that I'm not just going to fit you for a suit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna measure you. We're gonna stitch it together, and it's not gonna fall apart on your most important day.
Yeah.
So how did you get started? That's just I kind of have an idea. That's why this podcast has started. But enough of me.
Well, praise the Lord. That it came through, and then I met you, and that this all kind of started because of our interaction, and that it was just such a blessing on both parties. Of getting to meet you, Lance, and who you are and what you're doing. I just think out in that community and your family's awesome. So I just appreciate you dearly for inviting me back to do this. I think this is awesome. How I started is just everybody asks the question, and the more that I tell this story, I kind of hone in on, well, wait, am I taking the long story? Am I taking the scenic route? Am I taking straight to the chase? It's been a struggle. But I truly believe that struggle breeds greatness, and in that struggle, if you're not willing to embrace the grit, I don't believe that they can't teach grit. They can't teach self-image. You can't teach these things that I think are, common sense today. It seems like it's lost, but you can learn how to acquire grit from those who have grit before you. But some have it in them, and it needs to be just applied properly. I think for the longest time, the grit was applied improperly in my life. I got into a lot of trouble. I was a very, very bad kid growing up, and bad adolescent and bad adult. And we'll probably get into it. I'm, like they say, 3 beers too intimate right out the gate. I'm super just TMI, but it's my story, right, man? Right. I think that's what attracts you to it it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and I'm just, blessed to have transferred over from the negative to the positive. I'm a believer. That drastically transformed my life, changed my heart, regenerated my soul. That was in 2019. So there's a lot in that working that, and hopefully, I can talk about that, but I don't want to beat a dead horse on that, or I don't want to focus, I don't want to be the Bible thumper, but it's such a transformative issue in my whole story, Lance, that, I was dark, and now I've been transferred into the kingdom of light, and it's so huge, Colossians 1:13 and 14, for he rescued me from the domain of darkness, and he transferred me into his son's kingdom, in whom we have forgiveness of sins, and redemption and forgiveness of sins. And to me, that is so huge, and how I got started, it was kind of on that realm. Maybe I had watched The Knight's Tale the night before. I don't know. You're familiar with The Knight's Tale? Heath Ledger. He's like,
that's a fantastic
great
movie of that.
Yeah. Right. He's like, anybody can change their stars. Right.
Right.
Anybody can change their stars. And that was kind of that thing where I was getting around these high level corporate business guys. They were putting on coats. They were, they were standing from stage. I was building a massive Amway business. Right. I got involved in Amway, American Way Company, great company, and saw this mentorship. And I took my mom to lunch. Now, I knew that I needed to elevate. And it was probably a combination with coming from this meeting where the key verse or phrase was elevate, and I don't know what it is. I still can't spell it, bro. Like I just kept slamming my hand down on the table at lunch. I was like, I'm going to elevate. She's like, what does that mean? And internally I was like, I don't know. But I'm the fake it till you make it kind of guy. I'm just gonna grit it. I'm just gonna figure it out, you know? And I was like, I don't know what that means internally, but externally I was like, well, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna get this job at Patrick James. Shout out to Patrick James, purveyor of gentlemen. You know, they've been around for forever. I saw my grandfather get some gear there back in the day. They've been in San Luis Obispo for 30 years. Out of Fresno, California is where they started. Pat, you know, great guy. See them all the time. And she kind of like laughed me off because she knew, and people listening don't know that I was homeless. I couldn't rub two rocks together. I had negative in my bank account. I was on the streets, you know. I was an alcoholic for a long time in my life. Still am an alcoholic. I just choose not to drink, you know. This Halloween will be 8 years coming up for me. But I didn't want people to know that I was homeless. You know, and I had a tent, sleeping in backyards of people's houses, jumping couches, that kind of stuff, just trying to figure it out, you know. And it was at a very dark point in my life, and you know, running the muck downtown, you know, just, you know, fighting, drinking, doing other just debauchery type things, you know, living in the dark, and yeah. And I said, hey, I got to go get that job, and right after that lunch, I gave my mom a hug and I said, I love you. She's like, I love you too. But she was still kind of laughing. She's just like, and I could see her internal dialogue, like, when are you going to figure this thing out? You know? And I walked right down the street and I talked my way into that position. I said, hey, I can sell suits and this is what I can do. And I didn't know how to sell a suit. I didn't know the first thing about a suit. I just saw people putting them on. And I was like, and you can change your stars, right? Like we just talked about. I was like, oh, I'm just going to change my status. Literally from that movie, right? A kid who couldn't compete in those, who wasn't a knight, who wasn't this, who came from the streets, who had nothing. Could he change his status? Now he did fake it till he made it, and he did get caught, you know, and then he got knighted. But, you know, kind of in that same situation where for a long time, I'm still the underdog. I'm still that. You know, I have a past kid who, am I ever gonna get to the status, get to this scenario or the room where I am fully seen and appreciated for the quality and the luxury of what I do? And I believe that just recently happened in New York with a huge membership company called RSVP Official. We're talking the top 1%. And this is an international group. So we're talking, you know, the tippy top of the iceberg of wedding professionals. And man, I'm up for an award, favorite innovator, you know.
That's great.
It's a symposium and a gala. I didn't win, but I mean, I was represented on a worldwide platform for what I do, and the CEO, I'm suiting him and my buddy Chris, who I talked about, who's a photographer, and he won best destination wedding photographer. And he's on stage in the symposium saying, hey, this is my guy who suits me, because they see him. He looks good. And everybody's like, wow. And he's talking about how to elevate your brand and elevate who you are. And my motto coming out of that was, we don't stitch clothes. We stitch confidence. We stitch self-image in what we do. It's not just the cloth. It's the experience, right? Like you felt that experience, like rolling out the red carpet for, you know, I'm sure you were like, wow, this guy, like you said, you know, I just showed up and I treated you like top notch. And that's what we do, is we have to stitch that into what we're doing. We have to build that into our customer. We have to build that into our man or woman who's in that garment, to give them that extra lift, if you will. And it was crazy being in that room. I'm still shaking coming out of it, just because of the opportunity that I have now, where I have never felt more seen. I cried so much. I'll probably cry now that I can feel it coming on. I'm just a crybaby, man. You know, I really am. Because like where I was,
right,
to where I'm at now, I fly around the country. I pinch myself every time I'm about to take off, and then I land and I just sit there and I'm just like, what am I doing? And I pray and I'm like, Father, you know, like what is going on? How did this even happen? That I'm available, like I have the availability to do this right now and meet amazing people all over the country and adds so much value to who they are, to literally who they are.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. And it felt very good to be in that room. And to see that, I have stepped into the upper echelon of menswear game. It's phenomenal. It's crazy.
Bespoke by Bruington. I love it.
Do you really?
Yeah, I really do. Show. Let me see. I want to get
mug?
back. Oh yeah, that's got
You got the little EndeavoredThreads logo, which it might be changing. So this might be a collector's cup. Literally,
it's great. It's great. I had said that I wanted to get some cups made, and I just hadn't.
You should.
Well, between designing the new office and everything else going on, it's been a little hectic.
Yeah.
And but Craig here has a great Instagram page. I just watched the video that he has on EndeavoredThreads.com.
Mm-hmm.
Just fantastic. Whoever put that out, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Whenever I see quality like that, I'm like, oh man.
That's Colton and Jessa. Perfect opportunity. Colton and Jessa Duncan. They're Fox Jump Studios, Fox Jump Cinematics. Good friends, great, amazing people, creative partners here locally. They're local here. They do weddings. They also want to get into more commercials, I think, and stuff like that. Just amazing people. Did his elopement and then did his wedding suit. And then we were talking about a video kind of to promote me, and beyond and above expectations on what they did.
Oh, it was beautiful. Whenever I see like real talent, I mean, I shouldn't feel less, but I go, okay, well, I'm really good at buying equipment.
Yeah.
Is about it.
I can see that.
I'm really good at buying equipment.
Yeah.
The end result, that is just phenomenal. Or I'll do a little artwork and stuff, and then I see something, I'm like, oh man, okay, my stuff looks like, chicken scratch compared to that, but
they're amazing. Check them out. Fox Jump Cinematics.
Yeah, it was definitely beautiful, and it fits in with what you offer, and that feeling of like really no matter what you're going on in life, I wish more men could have that feeling. I can't speak from a woman's perspective because I'm not a woman, but
100%.
That whole experience makes you feel special. Like, I don't know. There's more to it, as you said, than just the suit. You feel like almost like there's somebody out there that cares about that, and they care what you're going through.
100%.
I don't know. It was a great experience. Off of that, I'm like, what an amazing story. It's just, I wish more people could experience that. And I'm hoping you get more out in the world. One thing that caught my eye that brought me in was you helping veterans.
Yeah.
And I don't know what percentage of what you do is for that, but can you speak a little bit about how and why and what that push is? Because it's 100%. Important to me. I'm a military family. Both my grandparents are buried in military cemetery up in Montana. Dad, Vietnam vet, Purple Heart. I was in the military. My wife was in the military. And so very much into that. And that's kind of what brought me, one of the things that I saw with you.
100%. And, behind the scenes, when you really understand who Craig is, what EndeavoredThreads really is, you see this whole core of philanthropy. That's really where it started was, I came from the streets. I was on the streets. I worked for Patrick James. I took a lull of a couple of years. I went out and sold some Mercedes and just got sold into some things that was a platform from Patrick James. And I still have a heart for the streets, and I still have a heart for veterans, guys and gals, reintegrating from like the prison system, being on the streets, veterans, and then homeless to put on that coat. If I can give that feeling to somebody else who has nothing, who thinks that they can't come up, especially like youth too. That's why I do so much with the youth. And I can give them that boost of confidence or that feeling that, like you said, like somebody cares and somebody's rooting for them every time they put it on, and they can go out there and crush it. That's what it's all about, man. Like that to me is really what EndeavoredThreads is all about.
Well, so when you do something like that, it goes much deeper. You then want to pass that on to somebody else, the experience, and help somebody because you were helped. So it goes a lot deeper than just you helping the one person.
100%.
I read this story. I don't even know. It just kind of stuck in my mind from years ago, where there was this man. He was like a missionary, and he was, I believe, in Australia, and he was passing out these little Bible verses for years on this street. And anyway, he really didn't think that his message went anywhere. He just did it, for years and years. And excuse me if I get the whole story and I butcher it. It's what I remember. And later on in life, something happened, and there was almost like a worldwide outpouring of support for this guy, that people had been traveling through this tourist destination for 20 years. And it was like, oh, I was going through the worst time in my life, and this guy passed this to me, and this is how it changed my life. And that little thing that he did affected so many people's lives over the years
100%.
that he didn't know it, and the limelight wasn't on him, but that act of kindness changed the world. It really did. And I really do, like I said, there's so many great people out there, and I don't think I don't want to say get the credit, but I think sometimes people give up a little bit, and they're like, oh, what am I doing this for, or whatever. Yeah. And I don't think they necessarily know how much they're affecting people's lives and the changes in it. Even when I was talking to Adrian from the pit, he has such a positive influence on these kids' lives. Yeah. And it's just that mentorship and, caring for other people. Yeah. And I really liked what you had to offer, because it was like, Craig was there, man. It was like, in fact, it kind of freaked me out. I was like, Craig, and then all of a sudden his car pulls up in front of my house almost instantly. I'm like, dude, like, are you just waiting around the corner?
Yeah. I mean, funny, I do live around the corner.
It's awesome.
But that's how we roll out the red carpet. I learned that my first almost week at Patrick James. This guy walked in. He looked like he was homeless. Ripped shirt, all that. Had a cup of chew. He was chewing and spitting in his cup. And the guy who will rename nameless, but I love him to death. He was, said he was like, oh, I forget exactly what he said, but he made some sly remark. He's like, go get him. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause he just wrote him off, right? He did say hello to him. And as the story goes I just walked up and I was like, hey bro, what's going on? How can I help you? He's like, funny story. You're probably not going to believe me. I was like, honestly, buddy, like I've been through quite a bit. I'm pretty sure I probably beat it. He's like, got wasted last night. This was farmer's market, San Luis Obispo, got wasted last night. Lost a bet. You know what I mean? I'm taking myself and 4 other buddies to Vegas for the next 4 days. Some big, huge bail bonds guy out of the Bay Area, remain nameless, right? And so he's like, I don't have anything. I lost a bet, got in a street fight last night. You know what I mean? Just, I need 4 days worth of gear, top to bottom, 4 whole days of events. We wrote, I think it was something like $12.5 thousand worth of gear out of that. And the guy who blew him off in the very beginning comes over as I'm writing up the sale. He's like, oh, I get half of that, right? Yeah. I was like, Flint? He's like, oh, well, I said hello. And I was just like, and I was very rough around the edges still then, man. And I looked at him and I was like, we'll go settle that out back, bro. You know what I mean? But it showed me is you don't know who you're talking to. You roll out the red carpet for everybody. And that's just the way I was raised. That's the way I was trained. I watched my father and my grandfather, just build business of personal relationship, and you go above and beyond to who you are and what you're doing. Cause that's who you are. That's your integrity. That's what drives you, man. And so, funny little story right there is, I fully just roll it out for everybody. I don't care who you are, because you never know who that connection is or who that person is. Be sitting and doing a podcast later. You know what I mean? Or connections in the community. And what you've gifted me from our interaction of old suits has already gone out. It's already gone out to other people who needed it.
That's good. That's good. And a little plug for Greg right here. He does take donations of older suits. If you have any, I'm sure you could send it to him, and he will take those and give them to people that maybe can't afford a new suit, and he makes them look like $1 million.
Yep.
And then they can go out on their own journey.
Yep.
With a lot of confidence. Anyway, you spoke about that, so I wanted to bring it up a little bit.
100%. And getting back to kind of what you mentioned about like veterans is, I'm still discipled. I was raised by veterans, and I see such an importance for that. And if I can give that little bit back, you know what I mean? Obviously, guys on the streets is there's a huge need there of veterans on the streets. But if I can give a little bit for you, signing a blank check for our country and protecting us, for me to be able to operate, amen and amen. You know what I mean? Like that's huge. And the prison system too, like getting back in, people don't give them a second chance. And then, like I said, people on the streets too, to just get, sometimes you just need that little boost to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, I agree. So you're going to have to excuse, I'm not like, I get this look when I wear glasses down like this. It's like I'm being very critical. I'm not. I just can't see anymore.
You're fine, bro.
I'm doing this. Okay. Another question. You're good on time?
You have the whole day, bro.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I just, why bespoke suits? I mean, yeah, like I said, that is a whole nother level. And I started thinking about that after you came over, and I'm like, that's like me showing up to a wedding and saying, not only am I going to shoot your wedding, but I'm going to start designing the camera this afternoon. I'm going to build the camera from scratch, and then it's going to work. That takes some serious confidence to do that. Is that just you being confident in it'll all work out? I mean, how scary is that for you?
I cry a lot. It keeps me up at night. It wakes me up in the morning. There's a gig right now that I'm a little nervous about, but just time wise, it comes with the territory. It comes with the wedding industry. I think it's more in the wedding field of you're showing up to their outside of kids, right? Birth, their most important day for a man or a woman, right? I would think. You have the birth of their child, and you have the day that they got married. I mean, those are pretty epic days.
Plus, they're kicking down a lot of cash usually to do this.
100%.
So yeah,
there's a lot of stress.
There's a lot of stuff riding on it.
100%. So and some of my stress also comes from the business realm too. Like I have a plug for Dustin Portola. He's one of the top dermatologists in America. Amazing dude. Amazing. He's out of Boise, Idaho, or Meridian. Right. Idaho. I've been flying to Idaho. I've been falling in love with Idaho for the past year and a half, man. Or for the past year. It's amazing. But he saw my buddy Chris and he said, hey, I need this. I stand in front of people. I have major influence. I need to look good. That's stress, man. You're sitting in front of 17,000 people. You know what I mean? At a conference, and you're the keynote speaker, you know what I mean? Or even just a couple of thousand people. I don't know if you've ever done a speech in front of a couple of thousand people, but it's nerve wracking, man. And to have all those eyes on you and you have to look pristine, all put together, all of it, that's huge, I truly believe that what you don't transfer from, you transfer to. I think a lot of that in the positive, we always go to the positive, like, oh, we're going to transfer the good stuff and the knowledge, but behind the scenes, because like I'm motivated by the nightmare. Most people are motivated by the dream. I'm motivated by the nightmare. That's me. I'm never going to be on the streets again. I always feel like there's this gorilla kind of trying to get me every single time. So I have to grind and I have to show grit to get through.
Right.
But also in the negative, when I get into the mentorship of youth and young adults, it's those bad habits that transfer. So if I can, not to say that I am sovereign or anything like that, God is sovereign, but if I can help transfer some attributes, if you will, some good quality things into people and into their clothing, that every time they put it on, it's like we sew in a bunch of what are the affirmations on the inside of your coat? You know what I mean? And you see it, but it's, you can't see it here, but I have my, initial stitch, and it's the little things where I'll put verses or phrases behind the melt and behind your collar, little secret things in your suits, Easter eggs, if you will, to give you that confidence when you're getting ready. You're putting on this armor, Lance. You're getting ready. And for the females, the some of my women clients, they just say, you have saved me in times that I can't even tell you, that the confidence that you exude for me when I look down and I see that little memory verse, or I see that little stitching in there, it makes me think of our whole interaction. And that's where it kind of boils into this, it's an experience. It's not just cloth, and it's the experience of transferring this knowledge, transferring this confidence. I lack confidence in my childhood. So, I found it in the Lord, but I also found it in certain ways of very, very important males in my life that have built me up to this day. You know what I mean? And if I can transfer that knowledge to somebody, that's true mentorship. That's discipleship. Is giving people this ammunition to run in their lives. And, I think it's so important. I think it's a lost art of, there's not a lot of old school knowledge transferring to the youngers these days, right. And they're like, this generation, that generation. I'm like, well, if we look down the road, we're all going to be screwed if we're not careful, because that mindset is really what they need given their parameters. You know what I mean? Like, you can't grow bananas on Antarctica, just for analogy. You can't grow it. They don't grow. It doesn't have the facility to do it. But if you built a greenhouse and you built the environment, you can grow bananas on Antarctica. You see what I'm saying? Right. It's creating that environment for people to thrive, I think. Why bespoke suiting? Oh, man, I have no clue. I kind of fell into it. I saw the love for it. And I think the sophistication in the design, I think the man hours, woman hours that it takes for a full handmade garment to be created, I think it just blows my mind. So it grew this love for it, this old timeless feel of a craft, a trade that is just a dying art, a true sartorial feel, which is custom, anything custom, bespoke, bespoken. When back in the day, it's not just bespoke, it's bespoken. It was bespoken for. There's no, I hate to burst anybody's bubble who is listening. There's no bespoke custom suits anymore. There's not. I'm just sorry, just bursting everybody's bubble. There's not. Because you would walk into a tailor shop, guy would have the cloth. The gentleman who, would want the garment, a true bespoken garment is the man who greets you, who says hello, who grabs the cloth, designs the cloth, measures you, sews the whole garment itself, and then hands it to you. He's one man and one thing. The only thing close to that is an AMG motor in Mercedes, but still you're putting it in an entire unit that was created by other people.
Right.
So one man from start to finish, that is bespoke. And the word bespoken was, they came in and they said, that cloth is bespoken for. So that okay. little interesting nugget right there. So that was bespoken for. And so people have this concept bespoke, however you want to pronounce it, whether you're in England, whether you're in America, American bespoke is a true handmade garment. Now, there's not one person is touching that the whole time. That's just not possible.
Just not done anymore.
It's just production. It just can't be. One person's doing the buttons. One person's doing the canvassing on the inside. The other person's doing the sleeves. Even in I do handmade out of Rochester, New York. Shout out to Adrian Jules. So we do have an American made, and I do have an American mill, if you want, also called American woolen, which is amazing. So we can have handmade fabric here in the United States, made in a factory here in the United States, handmade. There could be a handmade garment, but it's touched by 2 or 3 other people, plus the pattern maker, all that. It's not just a one-stop shop anymore. So
that's very interesting. I'm told you. I am going to I'm going to have you make me a custom suit.
I would love to.
And I've had so many projects that I'm like, I've pushed some stuff back, and it's, you know how life is. Have you ever wanted to go to London and walk into some of these shops? Have you done that?
All day. And go through the process for a bespoke savvy roll-on? Yeah, but I mean, people here in California, especially the Central Coast, not to knock them, but they don't understand what stuff costs. Like, people go, "Oh, I have a budget of $100," but that starts at like $5,000.
Oh, so when I saw your stuff online, and honestly, go check out Craig's website and stuff. Everything is high end. I mean, it looks like $1 million, but I will tell you, from experience, I know that he can sell you that super, super high end, but you will also go in there and meet people's budgets to where you will still look like you spent.
You need to meet people where they're at.
You know what I mean? And so go check it out, and don't get discouraged just because you look at his website or look at his video like he had, James Cameron producing his video.
Colton's he's amazing. Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I'm looking at this. I'm all slouching. That's pretty horrible. It's like, hey, Lance, fix your shirt. So, but that website, the whole look.
I'd say Instagram too is really, really good at.
Oh, your stuff is beautiful. But I do think people get the wrong impression because I did.
Did you?
I've always done the Macy's, go to Men's Warehouse, and then they custom, they sewed it and tailored it and whatever. And so when I saw your website, because I know what stuff costs and I know what design work costs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's going to. So when I called you, and then you said, I was like, oh, where can we meet? And then you're like, I'll show up at your house. I'm like, all I saw was dollar signs. I'm like, this is, because I saw your website, and I'm like, this is, I even told my wife, I go, this is going to be stupid. Because I looked online.
Yeah.
And I know that it's California or wherever you're getting this stuff from, and it's definitely not London because a lot of that's their name. But I'm like, this is going to set me back. And when I started talking to you, I was like, holy smokes, I was way off. But I could see that. I could see paying that for that one experience. There was this series of books that I read years and years ago. I forget what the name of it was, but it was this very wealthy guy decided to join the military, and he went all the way through all the ranks as enlisted and then became an officer. Anyway, his family was very wealthy, and he would show up to his military stuff in Brooks Brothers suits. That was the thing. They would fly out and come fit him. And when you showed up at my house, I was like, oh, this is that. This is that. If you would have said, hey, this is going to cost $12,000, obviously I wouldn't have bought it right then. But I would have at least got part of the experience. Yeah. So I'm like, I suckered this guy in to come measuring me. That was full. It was kind of like, I guess, when like my wife goes out and she'll spend a couple hours getting her hair done and nails done, that extra detail, we end up going to a barber.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 20 minutes with a buzz cut, and it's just not the same experience.
Yeah.
And so I kind of relate what you're providing with that high-end massage. Well, no, he's not giving massages. Okay.
Thanks for the clarification.
But that whole experience
Yes.
where you feel special.
Hands-on, yeah. But I want to be able to provide that for, you know, the guy off the street. I want to be able to provide the businessman, the guy at Cal Poly, you know, anybody. You know, Cal Poly's a university in our area, and you know, the kid who can't rub two rocks together, who's got the budget of, you know, $800 or $600. You know, I offer ready-made, right? Which I think in industry term, ready-made is better than just off the rack, off the shelf. Ready-made. So, you know, we have garments that are already made that we can alter to fit too, live here in town, that we can do alterations. But, you know, when you get into the made to measure, the bespoke, that cloth style, that's measuring a suit specifically for your body modifications and for who you are and posture and stuff. Because not always does a suit fit the way that you want it to, or you don't have the body type that an off the rack or a ready-made suit would fit. And so therefore that's what needs to happen, is like those clients that need to have a different fit, or you're just a cloth hound, a cloth junkie, and you want Scabal, Piacenza, you know, Carne, Ariston, that, you know, suits are starting at $6,000 to $8,000 to $10,000. You get into Vicuna. I don't know if you ever seen an animal called Vicuna. It's like this little alpaca kind of llama, but way cuter. And the wool that grows on their chest. And now this story is crazy. You got a minute for this story?
1 second. So everybody that's watching it is looking at the way that I'm dressed, and they're all, this dude has never heard of Vicuna. He hasn't even heard of JCPenney. So
I never heard of Vicuna. I had no clue until they started talking about what all this stuff
Craig,
was.
seriously, do I look like I know?
You know a lot of stuff, bro.
I know.
Like, you are a wealth of knowledge. I heard it once said is the longer the beard, the more knowledge you have. And I'm trying to grow mine out, so I feel a little weak coming in here with this little tiny
Craig,
beard. And you have this.
That's a trick. It's like I saw a guy the other day. He goes, "Oh man, you're looking fit." I was like, "No, tighter shirts,
tighter shirts,
Yeah,
tighter suits, tighter fits."
That's the thing. Go ahead and I want to hear your story.
It's quick. It's so this little cute little animal. It has to be open range. They can't be farmed, and you go out and you hunt down. I don't want to say hunt because you're not hunting these guys, but you have to capture these in an ethical way, and you hold it only for 30 minutes. Because after 30 minutes, it gets scared and it releases something into the wool that ruins the wool. So you capture these cute little animals and you just shave their chest right here. I tell you, Stanley Korshak in Dallas, Texas, just amazing. Okay, suit makers, $25,000 for a coat.
Well, that's because you're having to go out in the field and shave a
Vicuna. Look it up.
You're going to have to shave
$60,000.
That's insane
for a 2-piece, 3-piece suit.
But of course, the guy that's sewing it, his hands are probably all
made of gold.
No, his hands are all bandaged from being bit by this wild animal that he's shaving out.
It's crazy. It is the most expensive fabric in the world right now.
Like, does it feel a certain way?
Does it feel a certain way? You want pajamas made out of Vicuna.
Well, let me tell you what. If all of a sudden this podcast takes off and I'm telling you, you're going to see, I'm going to be all Craig. That's a Vicuna couch you're sitting on.
Man, I tell you, I had no clue when I first got started either. It's amazing.
I would love to just do a traveling podcast where you go out and we watch you try to capture a Vicuna and shave it.
So this is on the bucket list now. I'm like, I'm serious. I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna talk my way into capturing a Vicuna, and I'm gonna shave his little chest.
I have no idea where these conversations are going sometimes, but I had no idea we were gonna talk about little animals being shaved. Okay.
You know how wool is created, right? To make suits, right?
Oh, give us a lesson.
You shave little sheepers, and it's the wool, right? Yeah. So it's like it all comes from this world, from animals. Like people, like the way that cloth is produced is like the craziest. I'll nerd out for hours on that. But the weft and the weave and the how it's the 2 over and the 1 under, and I just sit there and my eyes roll back when I listen to these old men talk about how cloth is produced and how they water down the cloth and the yarn. It's just, it is mind blowing. But we all just go like, we think it's just produced. Now there's so much stuff that's being produced, polyester, nylon. I don't want to knock on polyester and nylon right now because I use it in some of my gear for dexterity, for tension resistance, for strength with wool and these other fabrics. But it all comes from a little sheet, you know what I mean? That we just shave down and we string it out, and the process is crazy. I'll send you a video on how the stuff is being made. It's mind blowing.
That's a good story.
100%.
So my wife was like, "Hey, listen, you got to ask this specific question because if people would want to know this, you know, what's one suit, like a color that every man should have in his closet, like a go-to?" Because I ran into that problem. I'm like, well, I had blue suits. I've had different stuff, grays. And what should you have that kind of fits with everything?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's hard because the decades change, the time changes, the style changes. You know, we're not doing as tight of stuff today, right now, just in this year, as we were doing for the past 5 years. So it's getting baggier and stuff like that. So you have to kind of read or feather the throttle, read the society and the culture of where it's going. But, you know, I always say black is dead, right? Black is dead unless you're going to a black tie event or you're going to a funeral, you know, right? But for the longest time, it was like a good blue suit. I truly believe you need a good navy suit in your closet. But I'm going to go to charcoal. I'm going to go to a nice dark medium gray, a little bit darker, or charcoal suit. Why? Because I can run any color of shirting and tie to that charcoal, given your skin tone color. Like I wouldn't put like a yellow shirt on you. It would probably look bad, you know? I wouldn't put a very light gray shirt on you. I would
make a yellow, just camera. I would literally make a yellow shirt look great. But
he would make the yellow shirt look great. You would. But
podcast is over. I just got insulted.
But it's like, that's another thing of why I operate so well is I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you shouldn't wear this. I don't care because I haven't built it yet. I'm not holding this fabric in my shop and I need to sell it.
I told Craig, I says, what I'd like to look like is, I want one of those like pencil suits. I want to look like I came off a magazine cover. And he didn't have glasses on, but he kind of gave me this look. He didn't say that's never going to happen, but I got it.
That it's never going to happen?
He's going to make me look as best as I could look. And that might not necessarily mean that I walked off of a cover of a magazine.
And that's such a huge thing. You get a guy who's very, very big boned, and I got some extra float, you know. But you get this guy and his expectations or her expectations of like, this is what I want to look like, and I go, you know, one of my good friends, I'm like, girl, you're not going to look like her. She weighs 80 pounds soaking wet. Like she's like, you don't have the body physique for that. You can't look like that. Hey, sir, you can't look like that guy. That's not going to happen, you know, but we're going to try to get you close to what you're trying to look for. But hidden expectations kill me all day. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like somebody, it's like, you know, 300 pounds, 6'5" is all. I would like to be a horse jockey professional.
100%.
I mean, super slim. You can.
We can. It's just, it's not going to look, I mean, well, that's where I can manipulate the clothing, the cloth to give that image of what they're trying to look like. And I swear, I pull rabbits out of house. My business card should say cat wrangler. I wrangle cats and groomsmen. It's the stupidest thing I've ever done is try to orchestrate a bunch of groomsmen who are getting wasted and drunk or whatever. And guys that are always running off into certain different directions and then pulling rabbits out of hats. Like I constantly am just being a magician in some aspects of just creating something that I shouldn't say this live, but I go, how am I even going to do that? How is this even going to be possible? And that's just where I'm just going to get it done. I've agreed to so many things. I shouldn't say this. I've agreed to things and I had no clue how I was going to figure it out.
Sometimes that comes with confidence because you've went into things scary before. And once you get to a certain level of knowledge in something, you're just like, yeah, I'll make it work.
Yeah, you just figure it out.
I mean, like this morning, I was like, I've turned on a camera before, so I figured I could do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I touch on that real quick?
Yeah.
So it's like the confidence vibe, right? Like I'm all about confidence and I feel like I exude confidence, but I never want that to be ego. I never want my confidence to come off as egotistical or overconfident. And so I truly believe, Lance, that I am just convicted. I know that I am convicted about certain things, and it sometimes it comes off as this, oh, that dude's got such an ego, or he's got, and no, I'm just convicted. I know without a shadow of a doubt, I can do this. I do this. This is in me. And I'm sure there's some things in your life that you go, I'm just convicted about that. I know that inside and out. And so I think most people get a bad rap, especially to people who have a low self-image or deal in these realms where they get around people who are just convicted or they're just like that confidence level is so huge that it kind of makes them look, and they look internal and they turn around, they go, I don't like that guy because he just comes off like super arrogant or super cocky.
I've definitely got that before, but I think if people, when you get somebody that's really confident in what they've done, it doesn't matter what it is. I think there's another part of that if you actually talk to them, and they will honestly say there's a whole host of things that they're not good at.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, and I think as I get older, that has become more and more evident. I'm like, yeah, that's not my wheelhouse.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'll tell you what I can do if, like, I dabble in stuff. I'm like, yeah, I can make that work. There's other things where I'm like, oh, I'm literally fantastic at that. It's just what it is. It's years of doing stuff. And there's other stuff, I don't touch it. I mean, you would never see me ever. I just don't do it. I don't pour concrete.
Yeah.
Those guys are artists.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not going to happen.
You're going to go get the guy who's really good at his trade to do it.
Could I mix it? Yeah. Can I throw it together? Yeah. Is it going to come out horrible? Yeah. Can I build stuff? Meh. I mean, I can build it and then cover it up with paint, but I'm not a professional like that.
Yeah.
And so, I don't take, that's another thing. I think you can recognize talent and stuff. And so, when you take on a project like you do, and it's like, I don't know if I could do that. I think deep down, you can. It just may not, it'll pan out somehow.
Yeah.
It'll pan out somehow. And, like, I don't want to harp on church or anything because I don't know who's watching, but I believe a lot of that comes with faith in God.
100%.
I think there's a driving factor in there that even if I screw up,
right,
it'll all turn out okay in the end.
You have a gracious, loving Father, that loves you. You have a Lord that, 100%.
That's my thought on that. So, okay. So anyway.
No, I hear you. And it's like in some podcasts that are different for me in the wedding industry, I feather the throttle all the time on that because I want to give them an honest answer of what changed my life. And it's hard we live in a weird world where that's not accepting to all. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want this podcast to be to where you can't say anything. I would definitely steer it in a thing back on track to where it's not controversial, but I definitely don't want people not to be able to speak their mind of what.
Right.
I mean, it's literally talking about what made you.
Right.
And there's a thing. I know this to be a fact. It doesn't matter what you do. You're not always going to be everybody's cup of tea.
I don't know why we're always blaming tea, but we blame tea a lot. I
exactly.
And I'm not everybody's cup of tea, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It is what it is.
But I was asked those questions, and I have to say, from my perspective, it's different for you. It could be different for everybody. But for me, if they ask me the question, like, what is it that changed you or what's going on in you? I can only speak from my perspective. And that's exactly what happened to me too. I had to kill the boy that I once was to become the man I wanted to be, Lance. Like I've had strenuous amounts of conversation, tears, crying. You know, I have a bad past, you know what I mean? Like I've been locked up, you know, like I've had to go through these things to put weight and pressure. But if you understand how diamond's made, it looks like coal. It looks like just poop, right? Mm-hmm. And then under extreme heat and pressure, it is created into somewhat of what a diamond. It's not perfected yet, but it looks, you know, resembles of what we would look at diamond. And then you have to polish all of its little facets for it to be this magnificent, diamond. But if we don't understand that process, how do we expect to approach anything in life or give people credit for anything? If we're just going to write them off when they're the poop looking coal and say, or in the process of the extreme heat and pressure, and we're going to give up on them, like, how do we expect to look at a diamond and say like, oh, that was once, it doesn't come perfected.
Well, I agree.
There's still haters out there that are watching me, that want the other shoe to drop, that want me to fail, that constantly are looking at me and going, they still think I'm the dude 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that's it. I remember I said I'm driven by the nightmare, but.
Well, I think people like to see other people fail at times. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Makes them feel good.
Yeah. And that's sad. We should be like building each other up.
100%.
And, you know, somebody else's success isn't my failure.
You know what I noticed? Hopefully you can plug this back in some way, but I don't know if it's going to go with the whole audio is. Remember I talked about that room in New York?
Uh-huh.
I've only experienced competition or haters at the bottom. You never see competition or haters up at the top. When I'm at the tippy top of the iceberg of people who are moving and shaking, they're lifting everybody up. When the tide rises, all ships should be sailing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in life that's like that. People think, I mean, you can equate it to like little restaurants and stuff. If you put one restaurant on a street, people might not even come to the restaurant. Mm-hmm. But if all of a sudden, you know, people are like, well, there's a McDonald's over there, they're going to put a Burger King next door, it's gonna steal some of their business. Mm-hmm. Well, it might take some of their business, but there's more people going to show up because now there's multiple choices. And I think success is that way too.
100%.
If you get, as you start moving up, others recognize that it only helps that industry. The more people that are buying suits, the more people
100%.
that are interested, the more people that are interested in spending this type of money for a wedding, it all is beneficial. But it's the young people that don't understand that, and you know, they're wanting things to fail because they feel that if you fail and they make you look bad, that somehow they're gonna get brought up. But they don't understand, excuse my stomach, what they don't understand is if they don't change that mindset, eventually, as they move up, they're going to get another person that's just like them, try to tear them down. And so
scarcity versus abundance mindset.
Sure. It's a bad policy. Anyway, that was kind of deep. Tie or bow tie? Okay. So, Craig, can you lift up your foot? Okay. So Craig is always, you're good. You're good. I don't want you to like cramp up. Craig is always dressed like, and I guess it's the industry. You wouldn't say, hey, I'm an exotic car driver and drive up in like a Pinto. He's always got like the nicest, coolest clothes
the coolest
on.
Stuff. Like, you want me to walk through my wardrobe right now?
Yeah. So what is a tie or bow tie? What's your choice?
It depends on the event. It really does. It depends on the event. If it's black tie, I'm wearing black tie, you know, but I wear like a bat wing, or I wear like a droopy tie, which has, it's not just your traditional tie, but normally I'm going to be in a long tie. You'll see me always in a long tie when I'm out on the streets or I'm doing stuff. I've been in my knit phase right now. I'm very houndstooth out right now. This is houndstooth on houndstooth. I have Native American designed. I knew you were going to ask me, and I forgot I was going to bring the card of the artist who designed this. I believe it's her Yellowtail. She's Crow Indian Native. I'm part Native, so I like to support as many Native artists as I can. Eighth Generation is the company that you can get these through. She makes socks. She makes amazing stuff. Jeff Nicholson, he's amazing. He designs these ties and Pocket Square. Houndstoothy out. But I'm a long tie guy. Knit. I got my button down. Gonna have my round half hand knit. I've been in my knit phase lately, so that's kind of my vibe.
You're like a walking billboard for fashion.
100%. Well,
I'm over here in my gray. I'm literally in my
Kratom.
Gray shirt
with a gray beard,
gray with a gray beard, and you're all fancy. So
no shoes on, but fancy socks though. I'm gonna blow you up right there.
Oh yeah,
those are fun socks.
I like socks. I got lots of socks.
Who doesn't like socks? You
exactly.
know what I mean?
I usually try to match them with what I'm wearing. That's my.
I will say on this though, if you can see this, and maybe you can get a close up. This is this little lapel pin. This was made by Homeless Tim. Homeless Tim is San Luis Obispo Tim. I don't know if you've seen him. He used to have a cat rolling around, and he would sit outside of, was it Avanti or Ashanti? One of those shops right on the corner of Choro and Higuera. And he's a wire wrapper. And so he does a lot of my pins, and I'll gift them to people in business and stuff. But he makes these little lapel pins for me. And it's just a little Homeless Tim, man. If I can support Homeless Tim and help him get his burrito or whatever he needs, man. Like now, I've gifted him many times of materials, and he loses them because he's homeless. So Tim, if you ever see this video, I love you, dude, but you got to get off the streets, bro. You know what I mean? but yeah, I mean, I support. I'm an underdog. I support the little dogs, man. That's good. I want handmade, crafted goods and things from people who care.
Right.
Like that money to him goes so much further than Gucci. Not to slam Gucci, but it's like, why would I support something that has no temperature to me in my heart?
Exactly. All right. So everybody has, and I don't want you to get in trouble or anything. So let me preface that because
I'm like, where's he going?
We're talking other stuff or other projects that I've worked on to where I've had to delete stuff. It was like, oh no. All right. Any crazy stories that you could tell me, anything that's happened that just like sticks in your brain, like years ago, I'll give you an example. Years ago, when digital cameras first came out, I figured I could do this. Went out, spent a ton of money. They just come out. I went and shot an entire paintball tournament that I was helping sponsor. Anyway, none of the photos turned out. I wasted 2 days, and I guess I should have looked at the settings beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So took your lens cap off.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now I got redundancies on redundancies, and even when you do that, you still come up with power not turning on.
Right. It's because you just had to talk to it nice, and it just needed some love in the morning.
Exactly. I don't know. Roadcaster Pro, Rode. I got like lots of Rode gear.
Maybe you'll get sponsored by them if you talk about them. Although we'll cut that it didn't work this morning.
No, it worked. It was probably just me. I don't know what is up with the button.
Operator error is usually
It's a power button.
Sometimes you think it's the right.
I don't know. It almost ruined this podcast, and you know how famous Craig is. You guys almost jacked it up. so, okay. Any crazy stories?
So, like pertaining to what? Like, you need to be more specific with me.
Like when you got started, you showed up, and you had sewed this all night. And the suit fell off the person because you used the wrong water stitching. Anything like that?
I mean, Chris, you're going to hate me for this if this ever comes out and you see it. But I told him that one day we're going to talk about it. So story number one is he just won, like I said, best destination wedding photographer. Now, this is a global company. Like, this is huge. That's like, it's the biggest, vote that he could have won. And we did this turquoise bright turquoise tuxedo. It was a velvet turquoise, stretched metallic turquoise. It's amazing. And we did some satining on it, and he looks $1,000,000. He has his droopy tie, he has his glasses, we have this, he's got the leather gloves, very Jared Leto. That's what we were going after there. And we're at the hotel room because he's my guy, and we're bunking together, and I'm like making sure we play dress up. It sounds super, super weird, but like it's fun. I get to dress him. It does sound weird. But I dress him for all of his events, and he's like, Craigie, I love it when we play dress up. And I'm like, it sounds super weird, but it's so great. You can edit that. Keep it because it's fun.
I'm keeping that in.
Keep it because it's fun.
The whole podcast.
And Christopher, it is my favorite thing ever that we play dress up together, and I love you, dude. And it's so much fun because I make him look like $1,000,000, dude. And it's like he'll go, I don't know what to wear, and I'm like, boop 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 boop. But that's where I'm really really good. And he puts his suit on, and we're literally 10 minutes from walking downstairs to go meet the people to go to this gala. This is a black carpet gala event. The biggest event right before he wins this award of his life, of my life, life-changing, right? Mm-hmm. Like the people in that room, life-changing, Lance. I can't stress that enough. And he puts his coat on and he moves, and then, and I'm like, shut up. And he goes, Craigie. And I go, and I'm like,
what popped?
His button popped. He went to put his suit on, and the button flew off. It's a 1-button suit, so the button flies off, and I'm like, "What are we gonna do? Calm, get a little stitching thing. We'll always roll with stitching." So I'm like, all about EQ. This is a lesson on EQ. I don't care how smart you are, IQ. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the EQ to keep it calm, cool, collected, and you're super smart, it doesn't matter,
right?
You know. And I'm just like, all right, cool. We got this, buddy. Because I could see him start, and I don't need him freaking out. This is his day, you know? And I'm like, okay. Why don't you take it off? Let me see that for a second. Just stitch that bad boy right on. Hand sewed that button right on. You know, like that's just one thing. Nobody knew. And then I took safety pins because he wears this stuff so tight. And I just safety pinned the whole inside of the garment itself. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't pop, because the last thing we need is like my hand sewed thing. He's walking the red carpet, and pops off again.
Well, because then he looks bad, and you
100%, and then I look horrible.
You don't look really great,
and I look horrible.
Yeah.
So it was funny because like mid-time, it was almost getting to the dance portion. So he had to come over, and I was like, we orchestrated that I'm just going to come over and I'm going to undo the safety pins. So then we just undid the safety pins, and he went out there and opened it up, and he was on the dance floor all night.
Did he kind of like dance over to you slowly?
Oh, 100%. 100%. It was good. It was good. And then the most, I think, influential, crazy story, the person will remain nameless. It's a big corporation. We have one here locally. They're huge. They turned to me. I was working my first wedding expo. It was the first time. It was October 2019. And I got into the wedding industry because of that. But I was working that. I didn't know what I was doing. I went for more like suits, didn't really know. And they looked at me, and they, and these people, and they just said, you'll never be able to do wedding suits. You'll never be able to break out in that industry.
Oh, that's really confidence building.
And I was like, but like, remember, I was like, if you're getting like that to an entrepreneur is the biggest is the biggest like slam dunk confidence, because I know that you're scared of what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. If there's other people in the industry that are talking bad or like negative on me, I know I'm doing something right.
Right.
Because you're nervous about that.
Right.
And so I just went out there and killed it. And like the night and day difference between what I do and what they do is, it's astronomical. But you want to keep producing crap, go for it, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's great. Like people buy your stuff. That's cool. But like, and they have a need, I don't want to knock them that much, like they service people and they have a need. But I know that I do better work than what they do, And so that was like the biggest story coming in the very beginning that was like really crushed me. You know what I mean? That was just like, I went home and I was like, I didn't feel good about it. I was just like, am I going to do this? Is this really going to work? And then the next year, well, after COVID, obviously, I nominated California Best of California Wedding Day, nominated as a finalist in my area for menswear. The next year after that, nominated as a finalist. I didn't win either year, but still 2 years in a row. And then the third year, last year, statewide menswear. So I'm up against three other companies statewide. I didn't win, but hey, I'm in the running contention for the best company statewide. You know how many people I beat out in California not having a shop? You know, like that's madness.
Right.
And then I get to this room in New York, and I'm favorite innovator nominated. Like those are like it's just on the way up. I'm just getting started, Lance. I'm just getting started,
great.
bro. Yeah.
So, if someone else saw this and thought they wanted to get into it and they wanted to make bespoke suits or whatever, anything in that realm, what advice would you give them?
Call me and let's chat. I'm about to cry. If it wasn't for the guys who helped me and give me not just like the trade itself, but just the confidence of the knowledge of like, you can do this, and helping me through that. And most of it was emotional, and most of it was inner work, I wouldn't be where I was at today. If you're looking to get in the industry and you're looking to, I'm looking to expand. It's not all about me. I'll help you. I'll help. Like, when we talk about the tide rising, like business ownership back when it was founded, a free enterprise, a business, you'd have a business and you would turn around to me and you'd be like, hey, let me help you build a business. And then I would help build that business. And then you would go off and you would help another person build their business. That's how America started. That's how free enterprise started. And so in that mindset of helping others succeed, Zig Ziglar said it best a long time ago. Rest in peace, Zig Ziglar. He said, you'll get what you want when you help everybody else get what they want first. And for me, I look at that kind of franchise model or that investment model, that if there's a tie to me where, say, I'm helping you out with fabric, getting started using the same manufacturer, because we're manufacturing, you know what I mean? We're not just, a company that sells cloth out of a shelf, if I can help build a company that you can make, and I don't know, what do you want to make? You want to make a couple grand per month? You want to make, 12 grand a year? You want to make $500,000 a year? Like, cool, dude, let's build something. And if I can help you on the front end of that, like, you can go have your cup and, drink your tea too, you can eat your cake, go for it, man. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all about that. Best advice for anybody? EQ. Understand what EQ is, emotional quotient. Understand that this is one of the gnarliest, stressful industries out there. Is the wedding industry itself, is making people look good. I would, a couple books just off the top of my head: Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, Grit, the book Grit itself. I forget who wrote that. Go Giver. A couple of these books that are just epic book. Carnegie wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. Reading a lot of this stuff and understanding from a perspective of, it takes a different mindset for entrepreneurship. It takes a different mindset for dealing with people of different ebbs and flows, if you will. Everybody's at a different frequency and everybody's at a different energy level. I'm like a +8, +10. I don't want to get too much into it. We can talk after, but I wake up in the morning as a +8, +10. Most people wake up as like a -2, -4. We're talking the negative model versus the positive model of personal people, of how they are. So I can't be a +8 with a -2 person. Now they'll work up their day to get into the plus quadrant, and then somebody will cut them off on the way back from lunch at work and they're -6. Like they can work up to it. But I have to be calm, cool, collected with those people to navigate and communicate on somebody who's not as excited as I am. Right. So understanding how to just chill, like chillax. You ever seen a duck on a lake, Lance? How cool and calm and collected they look? They're just like quack, quack. They're just floating, right? Right. They're just cruising. But what are their feet doing? Under the tertiary level, under that level that you can't see, their feet are just cruising fast. But we don't see that. Right. We look at that on the level that we can see, and we just see them calm, cool, collected.
Yeah.
Like it's keeping that all under to not see it externally. I'm not saying like cover up your feelings or cover up that. No, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I say things I shouldn't all the time. I do things that I shouldn't, but people know my heart, I hope, but I keep that down. That's the best advice and the best mentorship I've ever gotten by my good buddy, Jeff Rice. He was just keep it just chill, dude. He always go like this and just be like, calm down, bro. Just keep it just chill.
Yeah.
I call me, get in touch with me if you're looking to get into
so if anybody's out
trade.
there wants to get into that trade, make sure you go on to EndeavoredThreads.com.
For sure.
Contact or on his Instagram page. I'm going to have all of your contact information.
Sure. Awesome.
And I'll be...
you can put my phone number on there if you want.
Obviously, with time crunch and stuff, I won't have this up right away. It takes me some time. I have other things, but I plan on doing one episode a month and talking to some great people and promoting it and running some advertising. But if you are interested in that, Phil, Craig, he's an open book. Yeah. I'm sure he will guide you in the right direction. So last question, and what are your long-term goals? I mean, we discussed, you kind of joked around it. You said Bespoke by Bruington. That's fantastic. I could actually see that to where maybe take this as a confirmation. I can see that, and I'm from the outside. I mean, I barely know you, but I've got to experience some stuff. But I could see that. I could see me going down. It's like, oh, what suit do you have? I have a Bruington.
It comes off that way, that very high elevated luxury London. It
does. It's like we kind of
the long jaw.
Not to joke around it, but like I walk around the house. So my name is actually Lawrence Edward Fisher the third.
The third.
Yeah, and so my son's Lawrence Edward Fisher the fourth. And we joke around, and it's like I'll do an aloof walking through the house, and it's like I'm very aloof. But I could see that the Bruington. It's like it exudes class. I could see that.
That's good.
Maybe think about it.
Appreciate that.
Maybe
for sure.
And you got a good story behind that name.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Maybe taking off the brand of this new luxury brand that I'm creating. That is very, very more luxury than what, and not to say that EndeavoredThreads isn't luxury right now, but coming out of those rooms that I was just in and being around those people, like I can see where there might be a separation, and then having a completely other line, for youth and all that kind of stuff. It's like there's a lot of things like really boiling in my brain behind the scenes of just different, have one umbrella but different companies, you know what I mean, that suit different people, punny. In different modes, So,
well, I will definitely say that God is working in your life, and thanks, you seem to be going the right direction. And I wish you all the best.
Thanks, brother.
And thank you so much for coming on this. Sorry about the little mishap road with your little power on button. That was not, but that's what happens with technology.
Hey,
hopefully I didn't jack up my EQ with you, and I didn't lose it.
You're pretty cool, calm, collected, bro. Like all day.
I'm like, well,
makes me nervous. I'm like, why is he so chill?
I'm not normally chill.
No,
my wife sees
that's the secret.
No, my wife sees the duck feet moving.
That's the secret, though. Bro.
But everything else is like, it's just it'll all work out. Worst case scenario is I got like 2 minutes on the GoPro. I'll be like, there's your podcast. Anyway, hey, Craig, thank you so much for coming on. And hopefully in the future, we can have you back on.
100%.
And please go check out all of his social media. I'm going to post it online. Obviously, I'll have some links on there for selling stuff. We drink coffee here. So I'll have links onto Amazon.com. I do make money if you click on any of those links, affiliate links.
Oh, man.
So
gotta
please
click on those links.
Click.
Click.
Like, subscribe, all of that fancy stuff. And thanks, Craig.